14:20 in the morning for this January 2nd, 2023. I got it right. I didn't say 2022. We turned the page on 2022, Saturday night, Sunday morning. We're into 2023. Happy New Year to everybody out there who's listening to the show. Hope everything was great and onwards and upwards in 2023. Anyways, today's show is brought to you by collectibleexchange.com. Use promo code 1420CX at collectibleexchange.com today for 10% off your first purchase of all your sports memorabilia, collectibles, all the stuff for your man cave, for your house, for your presents, whatever you want to do. Go to collectibleexchange.com and get yourself something pretty today. Big day in the sports world again today. Down at the tavern, we're going to have all three TVs going. Lots going on. My USC Trojans are in the Cotton Bowl versus the Tulane Green Wave. Ooh. Both teams 11-2, but it should be a decent game today. Hopefully Caleb Williams can keep his Heisman Trophy season going. He had a great campaign. You wonder how his leg is that he hurt in the Pac-12 championship game in the loss to the Utah Utes, who are in the Rose Bowl today versus the Penn State Nittany Lions in the Rose Bowl. The Rose Parade's on later on today. Lots going on. Then you have the World Junior, the Connor Bedard show in Halifax against the Slovakia. I think they're playing today. Should be a good game again. Quarterfinal action. It's win or go home. That stage of the tournament now, so every game means a whole bunch as of this point forward. That game on Saturday night where Canada came out rolling against Sweden, it was awesome to watch that. It was a fun New Year's Eve for us. We went and had a good time and got down a little bit like we haven't been able to the last couple of years on New Year's Eve, but it was a good event for sure. New Year's Eve with great things going on. Anyways, around the rest of the sports world today, it goes to show how strong the NFL is. Nobody even dared going up against them yesterday. The NHL has its Winter Classic today. They didn't even bother trying to go against the NFL Sunday because they're a beast that keeps on moving. So the TV schedule gets changed a little bit to have a Winter Classic to get some eyeballs on it on January 2nd here. The Pittsburgh Steelers or Pittsburgh Pirates. Geez, I'm blowing this. The Pittsburgh Penguins, my gosh, are playing the Boston Bruins today at Fenway Park. The Bruins, they keep rolling 24-4-4, whatever their record is, or 28-4-4. And then you have the Penguins who keep rolling along. Not as great of a season, but 19-11-6, hunting for a playoff spot the whole bit. But it should be a fun event at Fenway. The weather's supposed to be fine. It's supposed to be 51 degrees Fahrenheit, which is 10 degrees Celsius. That's about the same temperature that it was for me my time. I went to Fenway back in April of 2018, where I went and saw the Jays play down there, a weekend series, and it was she was a cold Friday night there at Fenway Park in Boston at the time we went. I don't think it was 10 degrees that night. We were freezing. It was so bloody cold, but we ventured through it and only had a couple of Sam Adams in the stands because you're supposed to, but it was one of those nights where a bowl of clam chowder was a welcome addition to the to what was going in us that night, because it was a cold night. But it should be a good day at Fenway. I'm not sure how many people actually watch these games anymore. I'll have it on. I won't be invested too much into it because of the USC game is on, but I'll watch it. It'll be on. It's a made-for-TV event, as you guys know. It's a thing for the sponsors to get out there and rub shoulders. I think it's more for the players' families and kids and the like to get on the ice. The alumni to go out and rub shoulders a little bit and maybe play a game beforehand or yesterday or whatever it might have been. It lost its luster over the years for me because there were so many. If you remember back, I think it was 2014. I think it was when they had the Stadium Series games. It seemed like to be a different indoor or outdoor game every bloody week that was on television. There were some that were kind of neat. There were some that were quite ridiculous. We'll get that in a second. But the Heritage Classic and the Winter Classic and all these classics they should be called a classic when the game's over. That's when things are decided if they're a classic or not. Otherwise, it's just another game, especially these outdoor games, which we know can sometimes be a bit of a group of duds. In 2008, you remember Crosby scored the game winner in a shootout. The temperature was quite bad in Buffalo there in front of 77,000 people. So they do get good crowds. There's no doubt about that. But the blizzard conditions, you remember they had to they were changing ends in between or during the game to make sure that the wind gusts were favoring not only one team but they were making it fair. And so there was that thing, and Crosby scored and Ryan Miller in the shootout to win that game. It was kind of ridiculous because the way the ice was, they had to stop it, Zamboni it, and the whole bit. You remember the one in Edmonton, 2003? They probably should have postponed that one with the way the weather was that day, minus 30 degrees plus wind chill and the like. It wasn't good. It wasn't great conditions. I wasn't there. I had some friends who went to that game and they said it was bloody awful. It was actually so bad that their beer was freezing. They went, they had a good time, but it's not something I'm interested in, is being outside in the winter conditions like that. I used to work outside, and so I didn't think doing something that I would pay money to do to go outside and freeze your proverbial bag off instead. So I bypassed those winter games. There was the one in Calgary a few years back as well. That was same thing. The temperature was absolutely brutal. Deanne said she went to that one. You remember the one at Dodger Stadium, which I thought was kind of neat, having it outdoors there. The Kings and the Ducks played a game. Kiss opened up the show, of course. Anytime Gene Simmons and Paul Stanley can put a couple of bucks in their pockets, they'll do it for sure. So there are some that are good. The one at Yankee Stadium a few years back, I think, was a Stadium Series one as well in 2014. Lundqvist had those great Yankee pads. I should find those and buy them off, and those are something else. It'd be a nice addition to the tavern and all the memorabilia I have down here. So there are some good things to those ones. The one in Lake Tahoe last year was a bit kitschy. The one that was really dumb, though, was the one in Vancouver, 2014, the Stadium Series one. That was the one everybody knows. That was the beginning of the end, or the end of the end of Roberto Luongo's tenure as the goaltender for the Vancouver Canucks, where he didn't get the start. John Tortorella, who was only there for the one season in Vancouver, he decided to go with his main man, Eddie Lack, instead of Roberto Luongo, which was odd because Luongo was the star of the team, the face of the team. And if you guys remember, another stupid decision by Vancouver brass was having Roberto Luongo as the team captain. So having an indoor game or an outdoor game played indoors was quite ridiculous. It went across the street from Rogers Place to the BC place. They tried to replicate an outdoor event, which was an indoor stadium for those who don't know about BC Place Stadium. So they tried to put make it look like an outdoor game, but it was an indoor game in a controlled environment. But they said it was a Heritage Classic. It was a horribly dumb idea. I thought it was another stumbling block in the long history of stumbling blocks for the Vancouver Canucks. That organization just can't seem to get out of their way with what they got going on there. It's just I thought it was the dumbest idea ever. But anyways, that was the beginning of the end for Luongo. I think he was traded 2 or 3 days later from that organization. So the Winter Classics and the Heritage Classics, and they're not classics, so the games are over. Make sure they're a classic before you call it a classic. Otherwise, it's just a game. I don't know how much these kids nowadays, how much they would have played on outdoor rinks and ponds and the like we used to back in my day, as we always talk about. I mean, I'm closer to 50 than I am closer to 40, but you wonder how many of these kids actually ever played outdoors. So calling it getting back to their roots and the like is kind of a ridiculous statement to me. But it's fun. It's for the fans. It'll be a good event, and they'll have a good time. Actually, today's game is the first time there's been 3 1,000-point scores playing in the same game. This is Crosby, I think, his 5th Winter Classic. Patrice Bergeron. So you got Crosby, Bergeron, and Malkin, three surefire Hall of Fame guys that are going to play this game. So that's the first time in Winter Classic history that this has happened. 3 1,000-point guys. Be great to see the weather. Like I said, the weather's supposed to be good, 50 degrees, no wind, so it'll be just a hockey game, and hopefully everything turns out good there in Boston. Not too well because, Buck Foston, right? Anyways, that's my Winter Classic stories. Like I said, it'll be on, but it has lost its luster. There's just too many. I think they went to the well far too many times. I don't know what the players think of it. The networks must love them because they keep doing it. So the sponsorship still must be there for them to keep doing it, because it can't be a cheap venture for the National Hockey League to put on and get the ice into Fenway and get those stadiums and baseball parks retrofitted to be a hockey rink. But anyways, like I said, I'll have it on, but I won't have a whole bunch of interest. I'll be watching the USC Trojans and the Green Wave. What a ridiculous